Ever been in the middle of playing a guitar solo and you're just not quite sure how those next few notes are gonna work out, and sometimes you nail it, you're like, okay, whew, that sounded okay. And other times you're like, oh man, I just killed it. That was really, really bad. Well, today's video is all about helping you play guitar solos with confidence. Guys, we're getting right into the lesson. Real quick for my Patreon supporters, I have a backing track over a minute long for you to play along with, and the tabs on what we're going to go over in today's lesson. And I'm going to break this down into a couple of different sections here, guys. First, I'm going to show you the technical way to have confidence, okay, in playing guitar solos, and we're going to go through an example in the key of A minor. After that, I've got another tip for you, and I think this might be a very powerful tip. We're going to talk about that at the end of the video, so hang around for that. Let's jump into the lesson. What you heard in the beginning was just a simple chord progression in the key of A minor. The chords are the A power chord, again, we're in the key of A minor, A power chord, F power chord, and then the G power chord. So let me just play that out for you real quick. What I'm going to show you is two exercises that fit that key. But here's the key, no pun intended. This is the number one key to having confidence in playing guitar solos, and that's simply knowing which frets to play within that key, okay? So the two exercises we're going to go over here, that's going to help cover a lot of that key, but it's also, more importantly, it's going to help you expand on that, okay, and figure out what's next. The first little lick I want to throw at you here is just very, very simple. And again, the purpose of this is just to show you some of the notes that are within the key of A minor here. This is really going to open up the pathway to expanding and learning all the other notes that fit within this key, and I think it's going to help you figure out which notes fit within other keys as well. And hey, who knows, we may do more videos on more keys, so if that's something you guys want, leave a comment. Alright, so this first lick, very, very simple. Check this out. Okay, we're starting out on the B string here, okay? We'll zoom it in. And I am starting out on that 8th fret. What I'm doing is bending up. So that would basically be this next fret here. The note on that fret, okay? So it's like 8 to 10. So we've got two notes that fit in the key of A minor. Now next I go to this really cool kind of 80s sounding lick here. Alright, B string, we're on frets 5, 6, back to 8. Remember we started with 8, we bent that string, and then we're going to go over to the G string, 5th fret. So right now we've got a series of notes, and stay with me here, guys. We've got a series of notes that fit within the key of A minor, okay? Okay? Now next what I do here is another little bend. I love to throw bends in my guitar solos. I've always loved them. But anyway, so we're bending on the 4th fret. We go from the 5th fret G string to the 4th fret. Now I'm playing across some other strings here, okay? We're doing that little bend, playing that note again on the 4th fret there, and we're bending up to the what would be the 5th fret, right? I just do a little bend, and guys, you don't have to learn this like exactly how I'm playing it. That's not the goal here. The goal is just to share some notes that fit within this key of A minor so that you can play and expand on what I'm sharing with you, okay? So here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm going over to the D string, okay, 5th fret, going over to the A string, 7th fret, then I'm going back to the D string. I'm going to slide from 5 to 7. So right there, let's think about all of the notes we just played. And guys, at any point you can pause this video. Remember, you can pause the video and go back to certain segments here if you need to do that, okay? But now we've got a series of notes here, right? It's almost like an A minor scale. It's part of a scale. Pretty much everything you play is part of a scale or expanded from a scale or so forth, okay? But what we're doing here is we're just figuring out the notes. I don't even want you to think about scales, okay? And I'm not saying don't dive into music theory. I've got something for you for theory as well. Hang tight. But what I want you to do is just figure out what notes sound good to you in that key. Okay. Take those notes that we just went over, okay, and expand on those. Figure out what's next, right? We started on that 8th fret, bending up, okay, a whole step, which would be the same note as the 10th fret, okay? With these notes, what's the next logical step after that? Now that didn't sound good. Went to the 11th fret there, okay? This is how I want you guys to think, okay? Well, that didn't sound like it fit. Then it probably doesn't fit, right? What does fit? Well, let's try a whole step instead of a half step. You see, we started expanding, we came up with something, okay, that fits. And as you play that, okay, as you play that, that's going to get lodged in the noggin up here. You're going to remember that. It's like, okay, I know these notes fit with this key. And if you're not on my Patreon, if you don't have the backing track, what I would encourage you to do is just make a simple backing track in your studio or something. We all have that. Or just film yourself playing an A power chord, F power chord, G power chord. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Just play it, record it, and record it on your phone if you have to, and then go back and just play some leads along with it. Okay, just play along with it and figure out what sounds good and the notes that you may hit that don't quite fit in that key, well, which ones do not sound good. All right, so I want to share one more little exercise with you, just a series of notes that fit within this key of A minor that we're playing in here, okay? And again, my Patreon supporters, you guys have the tabs for this. This is very simple though. It's just it's a alternate picking, kind of like an exercise almost, okay? I'm going to play this slow. Kind of sounds like this when you speed it up. Okay, again, slow. See how I broke that down into like a little series of 3 notes each? That simplifies everything for you. So what we're doing, we're on the A string, 12th fret. Okay, we're going to go 12, 14, 15. I don't use my pinky there because I'm going to slide that one up, that 3rd finger up, because I'm going to go right back to the 14th fret, okay? So we're going to go 12, 14, 15, okay, then 14, 15, 17. Next, we're going to go over to the D string, 14, 15, 17 times 2. Okay? I'm just ending on the G string 14th fret. Hey, I got a cool little harmonic out of that. So we can get that again. Anyway, so this is it. What notes did we just play? All this fits in the key of A minor. See, you start remembering, your fingers and your mind connect, you make that connection, and you start remembering, okay, these notes, this series of notes, they fit with this particular key, right? Now, the beauty of playing at the 12th fret, as most of you guys know, and if you don't, well, this is the 12th fret, or the same notes as the open strings, okay? So if we're playing here, that would be the same as this. Okay? And when you're playing chords and riffs and stuff like that, if you're playing a lot of rhythms, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff up here. Kind of translate in your mind what you play a lot of times up here as a riff. Well, just kind of translate that to how it's going to sound down here. You don't have to play it note for note, but just think of that, right? Think of the frets that you play in this area up here, because we're playing metal. A lot of us hang on those heavier notes, right? The lower notes, rather. We'll just kind of translate that starting at the 12th fret here, okay? So that's something else that will help you. Now, the next little series of notes I want to share with you, this is just going to be repeating 2 3-note patterns, okay, twice. Okay, we're on the G and the B strings. All we're doing, we're just playing frets. We're starting out here on the 16th fret, so 16, 17, 19, twice. Okay, B string, we're going to be starting out on the 17th fret, 17, 18, what comes after that? 20. And you can go from there, expand, and figure out what sounds good after that or before that, right? And we played some lower stuff up here, and then we went to this part of the fretboard here. So we've got yet another series of notes, 2 series of notes kind of close together here that fit within that key. This will make it easier to figure out other notes, okay, that are going to coincide with what we just learned that will fit in the key of A minor. Real quick, before we go to part 2, and I'm really excited to share this next part with you because to me it's the meat and potatoes, but you really do have to figure out part 1 first, okay, meaning you need to be familiar with the notes, with the frets, okay, that you need to play that fits with certain keys. And one of the best ways, in my opinion, to do that, and this is how I started playing guitar, how I started playing solos, getting into that really quickly, I would just play along with the radio back in the day. Now this is in the late 80s, early 90s, and I would just turn on a station and you've got songs being played in different keys, so I would just make up solo patterns to go along with that. Sometimes I'd be playing in the key of E minor. Then a song would come on, maybe one of the hair bands, and they'd be tuned down a half step. So now I'm in the key of E flat minor. So I had to learn a completely different set of notes that fit that. Trust me, I made many mistakes, but when you train your ears to listen for those mistakes, you learn very quickly. It's like, okay, well, that note didn't work. You smack yourself on the wrist and you go to a note that does work. That's one way, and that's how I learned. Another way is you can dive into music theory. I never got into music theory that heavily, no pun intended, but it's not a bad thing to learn. And what I realized later in life is I inadvertently learned music theory all these years of playing. I mean, when you're playing these notes that fit within that progression, well, that's based on music theory. So you're inadvertently learning that. I do have another video on the Metal Mastermind YouTube channel explaining what's called the circle of fifths. I'll put it up there. I'll also leave a link in the description of this video. That's a really good way, and that's based again on music theory. It's a really good way. I explained that in a very easy way. A lot of people have said, man, this is so easy to understand now that you put it out there, but this will help you determine what notes go with what keys and chord structures and all that good stuff. So do check that out. And one more thing real quick before we move on to the next section here, we do on Metal Mastermind, we have a course called Metal Music Theory. It's taught by Ken Candelas. He's co-owner with me of Metal Mastermind. You guys know that's where I house all of my guitar courses, my metal guitar courses. So if you're not in those, check those out. But I'm going to leave a link to his music theory course called Metal Music Theory. That'll be in the description of this video as well. The caveat real quick, guys, he does teach that on keyboard. You gotta remember that music theory is music theory. It's not specific to guitar or any one instrument. It is music theory. But I do, for those of you who have the course, I do plan to go into his course and add some little guitar parts where I see that's relevant. So that's going to be coming up. If you already have the course, that'll be basically a free bonus that you get. So I'm going to be going through it and doing that. But anyway, guys, I'll leave all of that. All these are things that can help you with part one that we just talked about. Really just learning your fretboard and learning which notes go with which keys. All the links to that I just discussed will be in the description of this video. Part two, this is where things get really interesting, guys. Now you need part one. I can't stress that enough. You know, you need to know what notes on the fretboard fit with certain keys so that you know where to go next. And it doesn't mean you go to the next note. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is you need to know which notes you can go to where it's going to sound good, okay, where it's gonna fit. Now sometimes you might hit a note on purpose that's not really in that key, and sometimes again that can be done just to give it a little bit more feeling. But those are the types of scenarios where you want to plan that. You don't want that to happen by accident. Sometimes accidents sound good, it can happen, but I want you to have confidence, okay? I don't want you to end up in certain places by accident. I do end up in places by accident sometimes. Sometimes I'm playing something and I'll screw up and I'll go back and like, okay, that sounded cool, let's just leave it. I want you to 95% of the time have confidence in what you're doing. So this is the other tip I want to give you guys, and this will be quick. I know the video is getting kind of long here, but when you're playing notes, don't just play notes, okay? Let's say I'm playing a series of notes on the G string here. I'm going to go frets 5, 7, and I'm going to bend 7 up to that whole step. I played the note. It fits in the key of A minor, but that didn't really sound good at all, did it? I didn't really have confidence in that. It's just kind of like, okay, I know what note to go to, but it wasn't with conviction. It wasn't with confidence. Now, listen to this. That was with a bit more confidence. It was with a bit more conviction, a bit more emotion, a lot more emotion. And that's the number one thing in playing guitar solos. Yeah, we talked about part one, learning which notes fit within the progression. Again, that's important, but more importantly, once you learn that, you've got to quickly move on to that next phase of where you're really just adding some emotion, some power behind those guitar solos. You have to remember that guitar solos, they're really replacing the vocal line. When you think of bands, and I'm going to just name off some hair bands here, like Bon Jovi, right? Like Poison, Skid Row, Warrant. Let's get into some other bands, even Metallica, you know, Dave Mustaine, Megadeth. When they sing, their vocals, man, they're singing with confidence. All these are different vocal styles, by the way, right? But they're singing with conviction. They're just putting some emotion and power behind it, or maybe it's aggression if that's what that song calls for. Well, guitar solos, the exact same thing. You want to put those feelings into it, and I believe that's all about in how you approach those notes. So I don't want you always thinking about, oh man, I don't know where to go next. What's going to be the right notes? I hope I nail this. I want you to go over part one. If you got to go back through this video and just let it sink in, hey, that's okay. But go through part one and just figure out where those notes are. Mess around with that so that when you get to playing your guitar solo, you can really just put that feeling and that powerful emotion behind each and every one of those notes. I relate this to bodybuilding. I'm not a bodybuilder, but I've been training all my life. And I tell people this in the gym all the time, you know, don't just lift the weight from point A to point B. Make the muscle work. You want to feel that muscle working, right? If you're just lifting from point A to point B, there's no really purpose in that if you're trying to build the muscle. You want to feel that muscle working. You want to feel those notes working. You want to just pour your emotion into that. So I can't stress that enough. Guys, I truly hope this video helped you. If you have questions, please leave those in the comments. These types of videos, I really enjoy making them because they are concepts. They're built on concepts that I really want you to take, and I want you to expand on those. Now, a really important note here, no pun intended. Well, the pun's always intended, you guys know that. This doesn't mean that you need to play like this guitar player, like that guitar player, or like me. It doesn't mean you need to learn this solo note for note. No, it doesn't mean any of that. What it means is that you know where to go on the fretboard, then you know how to add your own emotion, your own feelings to those notes. Make it your solo, not sounding like someone else's or another band or just trying to learn. I'm not saying don't learn other people's solos, guys. I'm not a big fan of that for me, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do that. I think that's actually a really good thing. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you make your own solos. You create your own style and sound. I'm big on that, guys, and I want that for you. Now, I mentioned a couple of resources along with this video here that I want you to dig into, so those links are in the description of this video. I've got links to my guitar courses as well. Now, on that note, another pun, I am creating a lead guitar course for you guys. I know most of you guys, you have either my Metal Guitar Apprentice, my Metal Guitar course for beginners, or you have Metal Riff Master, which is a heavy metal rhythm based guitar course, or maybe you have both of those. And thank you so much for the support, by the way, guys. But I am building out a lead guitar course. It's going to be based on more of a melodic rock meets metal style, because I don't want to show you just, well, here's how to shred and throw up a bunch of notes on everybody. Yeah, there would be some shred stuff in there, but I really want this to be expansive and really to be more broad in overall playing lead guitar, and really showing you how to put more emotion behind those and giving you some examples and stuff to play along with. So that's coming, okay? That's coming. I don't have a release date for that. I'm still working on my album. I'm kind of wanting to release both those at the same time, because I'm going to use the solos that I write for this next album as examples in some of the course. So I really want this to be the greatest lead guitar course that you've ever imagined, because I want it to help you. I really want to help you guys expand. So that's coming soon, guys. Guys, we'll wrap this up. Again, leave any questions. Don't forget to check the links in the description of this video here. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel here and everything that I do. Please give this video a like. Make sure you're subscribed, ding that little bell, all that good stuff. And guys, until next time, you know what to do. Keep it metal. We'll end out with that solo you heard in the beginning.